At first, Europeans thought World War I would be a quick and simple war, but the years rolled on with no end in sight, and many Europeans began losing faith in their countries and their beliefs. Among them were artists who had escaped their countries to avoid the war. These artists blamed their countries for the war. They thought Europeans were dying for no reason. So, in response, these artists decided to create a new art that went against the traditional beliefs of European countries. They thought the artists succeeded, then people might see how meaningless the war was, and it would finally come to an end. At first, they didn't know what to call the new art. The artists wanted to name sounds silly, which was what they thought of the war and those who believed in it. They also wanted a silly meaning. They found perfect name in the French word dada, which means whimsy, something then irrelevant or meaningless. Just they plan the art of this artist or Dadaist broke all the rules and went against traditional beliefs. The artist Martin Duchamp was an important Dada artist. He took a reproduction of Mona Lisa and painted a beard and mustache on it. He also took bedroom urinal, called it a fountain, but put it in an art exhibition as a sculpture. This shocked and disgusted the public, just like it was supposed to. Let's talk about some other important Dadaists. I think that will give you a clear picture of what the Dadaist movement's all about.
We've been talking about the Middle Ages and Renaissance. I want to talk about the symbol that was very important in Europe during those time, the unicorn. Among other things, the unicorn was a symbol of strength, purity, and grace. But actually, it was more than just a symbol. You see, Europeans believed that the unicorn was a real animal that could be found somewhere in the unexplored world. In fact, people believed this right up until the 19th century. Of course, today, we know that there is no such animal outside of mythology. I don't get it. How could they believe that unicorns were real? I mean, they couldn't have ever seen one. Well, there were a few reasons. It probably started in Greek historian named Ctesias around 400 BCE. He wrote a book about the wonder for Far East. In that book, he wrote about a wild ass in India with a white horse-like body and horn on its forehead. Did he actually say he saw a unicorn? No, he didn't. He had heard reports from travelers who had been to India, but what these travelers had probably seen was the Indian rhinoceros, not a unicorn. So why did people in Middle Ages believe the report in an ancient Greek book? Good question. And that brings us to our next reason. Some early versions of the Bible mention unicorn in the Old Testament. Of course, no good Christian questioned the Bible. And in those times, people tend to interpret the Bible quite literally. You see, a problem was the Hebrew word for wild ox. It was incorrectly translated as unicorn. So naturally, people believed that such an animal rarely existed.
Questions 13 through 16. Listen to a teacher talking in a social studies class.
In the modern world, it is commonplace for people from different countries and cultures to live work side by side. It is already possible to find a church, a mosque, and a synagogue in a same neighborhood. Most people call this progress. However, some people think multicultural societies result in heightened racism and intolerance. These people claim Muslims, Christians, and Jews should live separately. They say multicultural societies will result in more wars and terrorism. looking into the past. However, we find this not true. In fact, it's easy to find history examples that show opposite. Medieval civilization of Al-Andalus in southern Spain. While the rest of Europe was in decline, Al-Andalus was a place of tolerance, peace, and high culture. Although Andalus was in Europe, it was actually a Muslim country. Muslims from Africa or Moors invaded Spain in the 8th century. The Moors defeated the Christian kings of Spain and took over the country, but they didn't force the people living there to change their language or religion. So the Christians, Jews, and Muslims lived and worked together in peace and harmony for centuries. Together, this created a multicultural society with great wealth, learning, and art. Their universities and libraries were among the best in the world. This greatly influenced thinkers. Al-Andalus was clear nation, and this was very different than the rest of Europe. For example, in the Middle Ages, town of the Christian city of Rome decreased from 1 million people to less than 20,000 of Colombia, and it was under Muslim and Jews.
Now